The C4 Synth from Source Audio is a pretty serious guitar synthesizer. This isn't just giving you some prepackaged sounds that make it sound like you must be using a synth. This is letting you do real synthesis the old school way, which is the hard way, which is you got to make 100 decisions about every aspect of your sound. Even though it looks like a pretty simple pedal with 4 knobs, there's software and an app that you got to use to go into control all the real parameters that are under the hood. And I've played a lot of weird pedals in my time, and I was overwhelmed by this at first. It is intimidating. But what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to show you 5 discoveries I've made just about individual little things you can mess with. We're going to look at discrete parts of the C4 Synth's engines, like the sequencers, the LFOs, the pitch shifters. We're going to look at one at a time, and in each case, I found a way to push something so far that something cool starts to happen. So for starters, there's sequencers in the C4 Synth. All they're doing is letting you pitch shift in different ways. You can write a sequence of many different pitch shifts. We're going to look at that and just run pitch shifts on a clean guitar sound. But the cool thing is that there's 2 sequencers, and you can run them both at the same time. So the pro tip is to set up 2 similar but not identical sequences. I've set up 2 that are both hopping up and down in perfect fifths, but one is 4 steps and the other is 3 steps. And the way they bounce off each other actually reminds me a little bit of the rhythmic effect you get from 2 delays, where one is a quarter note and the other is a dotted 8th note. The syncopation that results from those hitting each other reminds me a little bit of the 4-on-3 thing you get from running the sequencers like this. It's a distant similarity, but I think I hear it. Just a quick public service announcement. Normally in my videos, I show you diagrams so you can copy all my knob positions exactly and recreate the sounds. But the software you got to use to program the C4 is so involved that I just decided it's impossible to try to fit that on the screen. So instead, I'm giving you a link to download these sounds exactly. You just click the link in the video description of this video, and you'll be able to download these as presets and fly them into the pedal. But when you click on the link, you're also going to be asked to submit your email address. That's the deal. I'll give you the sounds for free, but you got to sign up for my email list.
Gotcha!
I should also mention that Source Audio makes it easy to download many other free sounds for this pedal that are not mine. When you're in the software editor, you can go to the community tab, and from there, you can download any number of other sounds for this pedal that'll just be ready to go. That could be the right move if you just want to start playing this thing and you don't want to have to tweak everything from the moment you open it. It could also be the right choice if you don't want to give me your email address.
You must foil his plan before it's too late.
The next thing we're going to look at is something I discovered when you set up the C4 Synth to turn your signal into a monophonic Sawtooth wave. Now that by itself is nothing revolutionary in synthesizer world, but I discovered that if you run the pedal like that, it will do something interesting if you just mute a string and then play the muted string. It'll try to detect pitch in a way that's cool. And it'll also flip out if you play more than one note at a time. So the pro tip here is to treat those 2 things as new techniques that are pretty weird. And you can slip those into your playing. In the example I'm about to show you, I go from trying to play pretty slick to using those 2 things to introduce some chaos, but still keep things moving. pro tip number 3, we're going to look at the pitch shifters inside the C4 synth. They can do something really special that a lot of other cool pitch shifting pedals can't do, which is that you can set up a 3-part harmonization where you have your note, a perfect fifth above your note, and a perfect fifth of a perfect fifth. That's the part that's unusual. Even my usual favorite, the Boss PS6 harmonizer, can't do that. The Maris Hydra is a really cool harmonizer. It can't do that. Fifth of fifth is just special and unusual, and the C4 synth can do it. You just have to set up one pitch shift that is 7 half steps, and then another pitch shift that is 14 half steps. And 2 perfect fifths like that is sort of an acquired taste, but you're about to acquire it because it's really cool. Okay, next we're going to talk about LFOs, which stands for low frequency oscillator. The C4 synth has 2, and each LFO is sort of like a clock that's always running in the background. And if you want, you can hook up various other things to that clock. So if you use the tremolo that's in the C4, you can time the tremolo to one of the LFOs. If you want to set up a modulation effect, like a moving detuning effect, you can synchronize that to one of the LFOs. But the interesting thing is that there are 2, and you can synchronize them or not. The C4 synth gives you a knob to offset the 2 LFOs. So what I did in this next example is I set up a bit crusher using the C4's distortion settings. I set up a bit crusher, and I ran that with a simple tremolo on one of the 2 LFOs. And then I set up another bit crushing distortion that's an octave up. And I put that one also on a tremolo on the second LFO, and then I offset the 2 LFOs somewhat. So as the first bit crusher is fading in and out with its tremolo, the second one that's an octave up is fading in. And that combined effect is super cool. To me, it sounds like you're standing in a field of distortion. You're just standing in this field, and there's like 3D distortion happening around you. Okay, remember in pro tip 2 when I said the pedal sort of glitches out if you use a monophonic setting and try to play more than one note at once? For pro tip number 5, I tried to see how terrible I could make that. And I found a whole new setting that uses some square waves and has no envelope. Now, if you choose no envelope, it introduces a lot of issues. Like your notes will never decay. The pedal will really start fighting everything you try to do. And also, if you try to play more than one note at a time, it'll just be a total mess. It sounds like this. Now, that sounds bad. But the thing to keep in mind here is that anytime any pedal sounds good, that's a sound that other people are going to use. And if you want to do something more unusual, you got to start with something bad and then find a way to make it good, which means you got to work a little bit harder. But it can be done. I'm going to play for you now my attempt to take this bad sound and do something with it that is not bad. I think the move is to treat the bad sound as like a noise bed. Put some reverb on it, let it just be there as this like bed of noise, and then put something cool on top of it. In my case, I picked a song that only has a couple chords and has sort of a cute melody. And altogether, I think the result is a lot better than just not bad.